Now I have to say, kimchi is a bit of an acquired taste. I remember when I went to Korea a long time ago now, you got into a lift or something and it stank of garlic because they ate so much kimchi, and kimchi was full of garlic. Now this version is not quite as garlicky and not quite as spicy. It's a recipe from David Chang from Momofuku, and it's a terrific recipe because it's got a little bit more mildness. Actually, just telling, originally what they used to do with kimchi is they used to ferment it by putting it in clay pots and burying it in the ground for about 6 months. Maybe not 6 months, maybe 12 months. I don't actually know. Anyway, when it came out, as you can imagine, it was a bit ripe. This is not quite like that, but it's still an acquired taste because it still has that slight fermented style, or taste, I suppose you would say. Now, the first thing is we use a wonga-bok, which is the conical Chinese cabbage, and you take off any damaged outer leaves and you then cut it into 4. Now, this is a recipe that you really need to start about a week or 2 before you want to use it. So you have to be organised with this. So you cut it in 4 lengthways, you then cut off those hard stalks and you cut it into pieces, just like that. You put it in your bowl. So end off. On this one it's about 4 pieces. It's not a complicated dish to make, but as I said, it's one of those things you either love or you hate. And what I do is I serve it, you know, with some fried chicken or something like that. It goes beautifully with Korean chicken, but it also is terrific in burgers and sandwiches and things like that because it just adds a sort of a bit of piquancy and a bit of oomph. Now, the next thing, so we've done that, 1 heaped tablespoon of sugar, just ordinary table sugar, and 2 tablespoons of salt, not heaped, fairly, well, not scant, but you know, not huge amounts. And then all we do is just toss that up, just like that. Make sure you mix it rather well. And then we're going to put that in the fridge overnight, and tomorrow when we turn up, what we're going to do is put it in the colander and drain it, because it will have pulled out quite a bit of liquid. So you need to drain it quite well. But that happens tomorrow, not today. All right, guys, kimchi part 2. Just have a look here. What I've got there is my wonga-bok, which I have drained. So you get quite a bit of liquid out of that, and you really do. Now, the garlic and all the things, all the goodies that I was talking about, is about 8 cloves of garlic there, 50 grams of peeled ginger. Get some nice young ginger if you can. I picked through the bin at the market because it looked pretty old and battered and things, but down the bottom there was some nice young stuff, so try and find some young ginger. And what I've got there is about 6 chilies, maybe a couple more, I can't remember. And what I've got here is I've got 3/4 cup of sugar syrup. That's also known as bar syrup. You can actually buy it from a bottle shop, which is ridiculous, because all it needs is a cup of sugar and a cup of water, and you put it on the heat, and once the sugar dissolves, it's ready. That's all there is to it, and it'll last forever. So you just put a top on it, put it in a container, put a top on it, and put it in your fridge, because it's good for cocktails and it's also good for your kimchi. So there's 3/4 cup of that. All right, so let's just put the lid on and just be a bit careful with it, because it's got quite a bit of liquid in it, hasn't it? So until you get some of that solid to start chopping up, just pulse it. There we go, looking good. The only problem with these little processors, they're absolutely bloody wonderful, particularly for spices, but of course you have to stand here and hold it because it doesn't have a permanent on switch. All right, that should be right. Yeah, looking good. Doesn't matter if there's not lumps, but you know, a few chunky bits. You don't want it too. Ooh. Those chilies are hot, my friends. Whoa, you know how chilies sometimes are different? Well, those ones are very different. Whoa, that's hot. Absolutely beautiful, but boy, it's hot. We add 1/4 cup of soy and 1/4 cup of rice wine vinegar. Now, you don't need any salt because you salted the wonga-bok. I've finally got a decent measuring cup. I've been moaning and carrying on about my measuring cup because it doesn't have a good measure on it. To that, we then add our wonga-bok, making sure that it's nice and straight. And what I've also got here, just have a look, guys. I've got some julienne, a carrot, some pieces of spring onion, and some julienne radish. And I'll just show you how to cut julienne. Pretty easy, just get a piece of carrot like that. And just cut it finely. So it's easy. It's not even a terribly sharp knife, and it still works. So you peel the carrot, you cut it into strips, and then you cut it into thin strips. So we've got our radish. That's just a normal red radish. You use daikon instead if you liked, you know, which is the Japanese white radish. And all we then do is mix that really well. Do make sure that you mix it right through. Now, it looks at this stage that, you know, all right then, well, there's not a lot of liquid there, but what will happen is it will collapse. It will collapse quite dramatically because what you do is you cover that and you put it in the fridge. Now, I recommend at least a week, but it'll be better after 2, and it'll last for a couple of months in your fridge. So, as I said before, brilliant with things like fried chicken, brilliant in sandwiches. You know, like if you make a lovely fried chicken sandwich, put some of this in it, you're talking good stuff. All right, kimchi, a Korean speciality. Yes, you have to like garlic. Yes, you have to like chili, but it is damn good and it's got a real kick.